did Bernie Sanders make a mistake in not going negative? So conventional wisdom is, oh, don't go negative, people will criticize you. So what? They criticize Bernie Sanders whether he goes negative or floats on a cloud. It doesn't matter at all. They call him a socialist, communist, Cuba-loving, vile, rude guy anyway. So it's not just on trade. He did not point out Joe Biden's record on civil rights. He lied about civil rights record, Joe Biden did dozens of times. He lied about getting arrested in South Africa, battling apartheid. And the '94 crime bill, he bragged about that everyone but jaywalkers would get the death penalty. So since the mainstream media is so overwhelmingly biased, they were never, ever, ever going to cover that. And Bernie knows that, but he chose not to do it because what? It'd be rude or it was risky strategy. With the benefit of hindsight, that was clearly a mistake, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course. And look, I don't want to be too harsh. Hindsight is always 20/20. And I think this is just partly who Bernie Sanders is, right? He was never comfortable even with Hillary Clinton, who he had much less of a substantive relationship with, of going hard against her, right? Nobody cares about your damn emails, Hillary, all of that. That didn't do any service to Democratic voters. But yeah, ultimately, this obviously was a case that should have been made, needed to be made. And I think there was some complacency after Biden's weak results in the early states that he was done, that he was finished. The concern moved on to Michael Bloomberg. That obviously turned out to be a paper tiger. And here we are. I do want to look forward, though. And I think this is really important. We've all got to push to make sure this debate happens on Sunday. Results are very tough tonight, but I think we need to play that out and see what happens there and keep pushing forward. But if Joe Biden is the nominee, I think we've also got to realize that this whole vote blue no matter who thing is a complete con. Because what do we see? Biden's already on TV with Lawrence O'Donnell saying he'd veto Medicare for all. I mean, they spit in the faces of this movement of young people and working class people who believe in these principles. They call them brown shirts. They say they're toxic Bernie bros, and then demand that they just all turn around and pledge to vote for Joe no matter what. Well, I don't think that we should be so easy in giving up our votes like that. Look, these young people have organized around the Green New Deal, organized around Medicare for all. The moment that they say, you know what, Joe, it's fine. You can spit in our faces. You can promise to veto Medicare for all, but we're still going to turn out and vote for you, is the moment that you lose any kind of power in this situation. And look, it is a grim situation if Joe Biden is the nominee, but the least that this movement can do is hold on to some modicum of power to say, no, you don't just get our vote. You have to at least try to earn it. And I think that's a really important message moving forward.
But Krystal, I got to ask, what's our alternative? I mean, I don't think it's tenable for progressives to threaten to vote for Trump. I think that's nuts. I would never do that.
I would never vote for Donald Trump either. But you can leave it blank. As of today, I'm an undecided voter because here's the thing, Jake. Donald Trump is awful. The next Republican will be awful. And if they always can say, look, you've got to vote for us no matter what, you've got no other choice, then they're always going to treat us like this because you have no power in that situation if you're just going to show up and vote for them anyway. So I know people aren't going to want to hear that, but I think that is the reality of the situation that we face right now.
Krystal, you brought up really fast the voter turnout and actually whether or not they're going to appeal to younger voters. And actually, this came to mind as you were saying that. So I wonder what your thought is on the fact that they're seeing at least the numbers when it comes to young ones. Yes, it's bigger than it has been before, but they're seeing how much the older vote is affecting the establishment candidate, in this case, Joe Biden. And we see them appealing, or at least this establishment side of the party, trying to appeal to maybe moderate Republicans or maybe never Trumpers. That's what they see as the important group to grab because they would assume that younger voters aren't gonna come out. Is this a mistake that they would see that as, oh, we can, I think Whoopi Goldberg even said it, we don't need you. It'd be nice to have you, but we don't need you, because they see that as the numbers just aren't big enough. We need to appeal to these other folks to try and bring them in and take this. I think Buttigieg had the line as well. Those once Republicans and never Republicans again, that's who they're focusing on. Is that a mistake?
That's like 5 people and they're all employed by cable news. I mean, the never Trump Republican doesn't exist in the wild, right? The Republican Party loves Donald Trump. They're all behind him. They're not coming back. So that's a fantasy. And I think in terms of, we have seen massive increase in suburban turnout, in older turnout. Those are people who are going to show up no matter who the Democratic nominee is. The people you have to worry about are the same people who didn't show up for Hillary Clinton last time. That was working class voters of color, and it was young folks. Those are both strengths of Bernie Sanders. So I think they've had it flipped completely backwards. They've been focused on this group of voters that is going to come out basically no matter what. And spitting in the face of the voters who you actually do have to win over, who are voting on the issues, not just on the desire to defeat Donald Trump, which of course we all share.
Yeah. Krystal, I want to go back to your statement because it's obviously controversial and it needs to be discussed more. So saying leaving it blank, I don't think that's the right strategy. I understand why you're saying it. You're saying you have to hold on to leverage, and that's how politics works. And I deeply appreciate that concept. But if number one, leaving it blank leaves open the possibility that Trump's going to win, I can't countenance that possibility under any circumstance. And number two, if we do that, then no matter what happens and no matter how badly Biden would have normally lost, they will definitely blame it on progressives for leaving it blank. Do you see what I'm saying?
Cenk, they're going to blame us anyway. This is exactly what they did last time. They're going to do it again. I mean, that playbook is already there. Look, first of all, I don't want to say he's definitely going to lose because I don't think that is true. I think he does have some strengths that Hillary Clinton didn't have in terms of just people like him more. He's not so closely associated with Wall Street, even though the policy is much more important, and he has much less on the ball in terms of sort of competence and capability wise. But look, we're in this coronavirus situation. There's a potential recession, staring us in the face. So I think it would be foolish to say that he absolutely cannot win. Joe Biden could potentially win. Look, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm thinking hard about all of this, but I do know if we buy every single time that you have no other choice than to back whatever bad candidate is put in front of us, then we're going to keep getting the treatment that we get now. I mean, what would you do if Michael Bloomberg was the nominee, right? What would you do if Mitt Romney was the nominee? It's just, they can go down this path as far and as right-wing as they want, as long as we're willing to be good soldiers and buck it up, and at the end of the day say, you know what, guys, you're right. We're all on the team together, vote blue no matter who.
No, I disagree. Look, I know what I do. I fight even harder the next time in a primary. That's what primaries are for. In general elections, I actually don't think it's that hard. If you said to me your only two choices are Mitt Romney and Donald Trump, I'd vote for Mitt Romney.
Well, and that's why they take us for granted.
No, that's not why. No, our job is to beat the.
We're all behind Bernie Sanders. That's why there's no electability case to be made there. Because if they're all going to show up anyway, then why? Then go ahead and say you're going to veto Medicare for all. Go ahead and say you're going to put Jamie Dimon in as Treasury Secretary, et cetera, et cetera. No,
but we know they're going to do that. But Krystal, that's why we had a primary, but we lost. And next time we got to do better in the primary. So Trump isn't going to give you Medicare for all either, and he's going to be way, way, way worse. So to me, the general elections are a fait accompli. Once you got there, it's already too late. You've already lost the war, and so. But at that point, you're just picking among the lesser of two bad options. It's true. So you pick the lesser one, not the worst one.
Well, here's what I will say, and I know that you will be with me on this. I will never again, and look, this is not over yet. It doesn't look great, but I don't want to say that this is over. We've got a debate and we've still got a lot of states to go. However, given the path and the trajectory that we're on right now, I will do everything I can in my power to be never left in this situation again where we've got this sort of stab me, shoot me choice. And we're once again in a position where our views and the entire movement is treated with contempt, condescension, smeared as Nazis, as toxic, as problematic, as racist, as sexist, as all of the above. And then they turn around and think that we should vote for them.
Yeah, and like just real quick, I gotta jump in because there's one thing that really resonated with me, Krystal, and it was when you mentioned how progressives are gonna get blamed if Biden loses. And I disagree with you a little bit. I think Biden, considering where he's at mentally, is gonna have a very tough time beating Trump. But let's like, just assume that he loses to Trump in the general election. We 100% will be blamed for it, even though we've been yelling from the rooftops about how he's an incredibly vulnerable candidate. So it's frustrating because, even if you do fall in line, even if you do tell your audience, for instance, I'm gonna end up supporting Biden, I'm gonna vote for Biden because it's the right thing to do, we gotta defeat Donald Trump. It doesn't matter. If he ends up losing, who gets blamed for it? It's not the establishment media that propped up a candidate that has all these vulnerabilities, because he has all those vulnerabilities. Aside from the mental decline that's clearly obvious, he has a horrible record. And he's incredibly combative with anyone who's even remotely challenging to him. So it's just it's a frustrating situation. And I don't know what I'm gonna do, right? I do know that Ruth Bader Ginsburg keeps me up at night. And I wish she would have retired way earlier, considering the situation we're in now. But I also—
It's all right, Hillary Clinton couldn't lose.
Yeah.
But let me ask a question, and we got to wrap up on this. And guys, don't worry, we're gonna pick this up tomorrow morning because I'm gonna be on the Rising with Krystal and Sagar. So, but look, guys. So no one knows what you guys are talking about better than me. I lived it, right? So I said, please don't pick Hillary Clinton. She's the least electable. And then we were right, and we were punished ever since for being right. And they said, oh, you're the reason Hillary Clinton lost, even though I told people to vote for Hillary Clinton. It makes no sense. It doesn't have to make sense because it's propaganda. It doesn't have to be connected to the truth. So I hear you on that. I acknowledge that 100%, Krystal. But really, to me, the primary that never ends is online media versus television and mainstream media. And we have to be honest with ourselves. For the moment being, in this election, we lost and they won. Mainstream media has defeated us. They put up a wall of propaganda for the last 2 weeks saying Biden's already won, Biden's electable, Sanders isn't. They smeared Sanders 1,000 times. They propped up Joe Biden and it worked. Now that doesn't mean that the war is over, but we lost this battle, didn't we?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And so that's something I'm going to be thinking a lot about. I know you're going to be thinking a lot about. I mean, the positive is that there's more and more growth of alternative media. There's more and more people turning that off and moving over, but obviously it's not happening fast enough. So on the right, there's been more of a bridge between alternative media and the mainstream, for better or worse, whatever you think of that. But I think we need to find ways to make sure our voices are heard in the mainstream. And in terms of candidates, look, we have to learn from our adversaries when they do something well. Donald Trump understood that the media would be against him, but that he would create a show that they couldn't help but to cover. Right? Remember how he'd call in to Meet the Press, he'd call into Morning Joe. He was on constantly. And the Sanders approach has been, no, we're going to build our own separate channels of communication and just basically seed this terrain. Well, we can't afford to seed that terrain. I think that's the thing that we see clearly. Question is what to do about it. And that'll be one of the things that I think we're exploring in the days and weeks to come.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, Jayar. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.